Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I want to analyze the different things that I did to get this image of a Swee Waxbill where it is as you see it, by just showing you the different aspects of Aftershot that I've used to change this image from its original. So let us go over those. The image is pretty much as I shot it. I did not do, as you can see, any cropping, so it's the full image, and I didn't have to adjust anything in terms of orientation and horizon, because the image was pretty much as I wanted it to be. What I did under basic adjustments is I just enhanced the vibrancy a little bit to make the colors pop a little bit more. And what I usually do is to use the color equalizer, but in this instance the colors were so good and the exposure was so great that I didn't have to change any colors at all in the color equalizer. So the color adjustment was mainly the vibrance set to 30. Then I used the color curves a little bit. I made the darks a little bit darker and moved the entire histogram a little bit further to the right hand side so that everything got a little bit brighter, and then used the color curve in the highlights and the darker aspects of the image to enhance the contrast a little bit. Under the exposure settings I didn't do anything. I used the sharpening option to get the image a little bit sharper, just to get this extra crispiness out of the feathers and everything. Just to show you the difference, if you take a look at the feathers here, if you turn it off, it looks like this. I hope you can see it on YouTube. And if you use the sharpening, this gives it a little bit more of that crispiness that digital photography sometimes loses. Metadata, yeah, nothing to change here, just for you to know. This was shot on my EOS 7D at a shutter speed of 1/200 seconds, which for wildlife photography, especially with fast moving birds, can be quite tricky. But I got lucky that this guy was sitting still for quite some time, so I didn't get any movement blur from the bird. ISO rating at 400, and the aperture was at f10. Okay, on the Sigma 150 to 600mm contemporary. So ISO on a 7D, as I've said a couple of times before, as it is a cropped sensor, can happen quite quickly when you're over 400 ISO. So or even at 400 ISO if you have slightly underexposed areas in the photo, which happens quite quickly. So let's take a look at what I did to fix that. So when you take a look at the background here, under my plugins, my trusted wavelet denoise, and this is the image without wavelet denoise. I set the luminance and the color noise factors to 30 and 35 for the color, and that is what you get in Aftershot Pro when you do that, a perfectly clear image. Wavelet sharpen I didn't use. As I said earlier, the image was quite good already, and all I needed to do was to use the Aftershot sharpening that you can find in basic adjustments or under detail. I didn't have to do any lens corrections with the Sigma. I don't have to do that, and you usually don't get chromatic aberrations with it, so that was perfectly fine as well. And I think, yeah, the contrast in the plugins that I normally use quite a bit, I didn't have to use here. All I did was I brightened up the shadows and the lower lower mid-range of the brightness in the image to make the image a little bit brighter in the background and give it a little bit more brightness overall. Here you can see the difference. These are the default settings. This is the original image, and if I crank these up a little bit more, then you get this extra luminancy in the background, and that looks quite good. Other than that, I didn't really do much. I don't think it's needed. This would, if I would do more, you would definitely get a too over-edited look, which I don't like. Some people really like it when the colors extremely pop and stuff like that. But I think, especially for like nature photography, that is something you don't want. In nature photography, yes, make it look good, definitely, but don't overdo it, because then things look, your nature photography basically looks unnatural. So, I mean, that's a point of view. If in your opinion it looks better when it's a little bit over edited, that's totally fine. I like the more natural look, especially when it comes to nature photography. The urban photography and other photography, like, I don't know, night photography, that is different. There you can really enhance certain aspects of the image and make them really look cool and kind of very stylish. That definitely fits there. But in my view, for nature photography, that is kind of counterproductive. I wanted to show you something quickly that I might be using soon for some more stylized photography, and that is the color element of the black and white plugin, where you can have everything black and white except for a specific hue in your image. I find it quite interesting. So when you enable this hue and fuzziness element, you can pick a color range, a hue range in your image that is not affected by the black and white aspect of that plugin. With the fuzziness, you can increase the range of that color hue, and then everything except that color hue is black and white, or vice versa. Just while we're talking about stylizing your photography, that is something I find quite interesting. You can also use that on an adjustment layer and single out certain areas if the full image approach doesn't work too well. And speaking of adjustment layers, the only adjustment layer that I used in this image was this one, where I used a Bezier curve area selector to make the eye brighten up a little bit more, so you can see the reddish hue of that of the eye a little bit better, because it was slightly it was not slightly, it was actually much darker what I'm talking about here, because of a shadow. And I wanted to emphasize the red eye ring here a little bit more, so I used fill light. I think, let me check. Yes, I cranked up the fill light quite a bit here by a factor of 1.6 to brighten up the eye a little bit more. But that is the only element that I used in terms of adjustment layers, and that is then basically the image that I published on Viewbug and Instagram and certain other areas. And yeah, I hope you got something out of this. If you like this video and this kind of video where I explain what I changed, let me know in the comments. And subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet. Like, yes, and hit that bell so that you get notifications if I put anything new on my channel. I hope you have a good start into the week and hopefully see you soon. Bye-bye.